According to Pension and Investments, a well-known publication in the industry that tracks the returns on retirement systems nationwide, the returns for TRS of Georgia ranked number one nationally at 14.5% for fiscal year 2024.
Hi, this is Everett Crockett, and welcome to TRS, Your Retirement in Focus. Wow, 2024 seems to have flown by in record time as we are now sharing with you our end-of-year podcast. As was the case in previous years, we've had some absolutely outstanding guests who have shared a great deal of empowering information with us, and for that, we thank them again. And today, as is our custom, we have with us one of our most popular and one of my personal favorite guests, Dr. L.C. Buster Evans, the Executive Director of the Teachers Retirement System of Georgia. Dr. Evans, it's always a pleasure to sit and talk with you. How are you, sir?
Everett, I am doing fantastic. It is always a pleasure to come and be with you as a guest on the podcast. This is one of the favorite things that I do. Got a lot of favorite things that I do, but to be a part of this podcast that reaches so many of our people, to have a opportunity to talk about our organization, our membership, and the wonderful benefit that we are in education in Georgia. Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me today.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And Dr. Evans, you know, I really enjoy talking with you about all things TRS and Georgia's educators, so let's get started. Was there any legislation that passed that had any effect on the retirement system?
Everett, you know, one thing that you can always count on during the legislative session is that there will be some type of retirement legislation introduced each year. Fortunately, most of it never makes it through the legislative process, and that's good and bad, but that seems to be the way that it is. There were a couple of pieces of legislation that we watched and contributed to pretty heavily during the session. Only one of them passed, so I'll talk about that very briefly. This one piece of legislation is relatively innocuous. It was House Bill 481. This was one of those bills that I call an anti-ESG bill, which for the most part simply requires that our large state retirement system, as well as other large systems in Georgia, only make investments based on the belief that they are sound and potentially profitable investments and not on some type of environmental or social factors.
Okay.
It certainly isn't that we are opposed to practices that are good environmental or good governance or social, but that can be a very subjective area. Our most important focus is ensuring that our investments are profitable so that we can pay retirement benefits to retired educators in Georgia, as well as to guarantee that new teacher who's just begun working as a teacher this year, that in 30 years down the road, she can retire, plan on retiring comfortably and not have to worry about that. And as a part of that, we continue to be an organization and policy that helps keep teachers in the classroom during their career. Awesome. So again, it was a relatively innocuous year, and we're thankful for that. But as we talk about that, we're also already gearing up for a new legislative session beginning in January, just a couple of months away.
Yes, sir. Excellent. Excellent. Well, Dr. Evans, what would you say were the biggest challenges faced by the system this year?
Wow, Everett, that's an interesting question because I think about that and I realize how blessed we really are as an organization. We're blessed to have one of the best retirement systems in the nation. Year in and year out, we obtain returns on our investments that typically are among the best in the industry.
Excellent.
And at about the lowest cost in the industry. So that's pretty good. So it's been a strong year for us as it relates to our returns on investment. So from that standpoint, it's really been a good year. Excellent. As I look back at the year and think about the things that were challenges, of course, we began the year with the legislative session that, had some bills and had some things that we maybe didn't think were the best for our retirement system. So we dealt with some of those, but we lived through that.
Yes, sir.
We wrapped up the year with positive returns, as I said, and then our retirement numbers were not off the chart. They were about normal. So really fortunate from that standpoint. We have just finished our what I call the audit season. As we close out the end of the year in June, beginning in July, our auditors go to work. So we've just finished that. We finished that process. It requires a lot of our people to work very, very hard.
Yes,
so,
sir.
it was just a really, really good year. Fortunately, it was just the normal things of business that we continue to do. And we're going to talk about some of those things. We're going to talk a little bit about technology today.
Yes, sir.
We're going to talk a little bit about data security. We're going to talk about retirement security. But from an overall standpoint, I'm just so thankful that 2024 to this point has really been an outstanding year for us here at TRS.
That is great to hear. Great to hear. Well, Dr. Evans, what are the key trends and challenges facing public pension systems in general?
Every industry has trends in some way.
Sure.
The pension administration world is no different. In my mind, here are a few of the top trends that I watch on a regular basis.
Okay.
First one is pension reform. For the last couple of decades, we have seen pension reform basically come in the form of legislators, in some cases, making changes to retirement systems. We've not had significant reform. The teachers' retirement system changing our plan design. Our teachers, our members are very, very thankful for the plan design as it is.
Yes, sir.
And so we've really not seen that, but yet we continue to hear rumblings of it down the road.
Yes, sir.
But nationally, it certainly has been an issue. One of the things that I look at that is very interesting to me is investment asset class changes. We have a pretty conservative asset allocation here at TRS of Georgia. Most of our assets are invested in stocks, about 30% in bonds, and a very small, only 1% to 2% in the alternative investment world in the form of private equity.
Okay.
We have seen trends in the alternative asset class in many other states that have really not impacted us significantly. We have seen some trends with some retirement systems that were heavy in alternative investments have some liquidity issues, and that's not impacted us because we don't have much there. But we do look at that trend. I think the last trend that I will point to is a really good trend, but it's a long-term trend. And what we are seeing is that most pension systems in the nation are moving toward greater sustainability due to a number of things, such as tighter actuarial standards, tighter actuarial fit, good investment returns, and stronger governance input are several things that I think are helping to demonstrate that defined benefit plans can be a successful part of employee compensation and benefits that make a positive policy difference in the workforce.
Awesome. Positive difference. That's the key. Positive differences. That's a good thing. Well, Dr. Evans, certainly we know that technology and its associated threats are ever evolving. What steps has TRS taken to enhance its technology and security systems?
There are several things that I can point to here that I think show that we have been pretty proactive in this area because this is truly one of those things that I would tell you can keep me up at night. But first and foremost, continue our efforts in internal education, making sure people know what are the right things to do and what are the wrong things to do. But, that's not only true internally, that's true externally. There's not a day that goes by that we don't hear about some type of scam involving technology in the world.
Very true.
But being educated, I think, is the first point in that. Secondly, an increasing focus on our personnel. I believe that we have one of the strongest teams in state government in our IT department, of which you are a member of.
Yes, I am, probably.
But increasing personnel. We, in relationship to this, we added within the last couple of years what we call a CISO, Chief Information Security Officer position. Most agencies of any size now have someone in this capacity. So that we've added that position with basically the full authority to say, you make sure that you give us the information that we need to ensure that our system is safe and that we're doing those things. Another thing that we do is deliberate, frequent review of our system, our operations, and controls, again, to make sure that we are doing the things that we ought to be doing and that we're not doing the things that we shouldn't be doing. And then the last thing is basically tighter controls. We, on one hand, people would like to be able to do anything that they can, that they want to do with technology, but on the other hand, we have the overarching responsibility to ensure that our records are kept secure, that our finances are kept secure.
Yes, sir.
And we want to ensure that we have those tighter controls. So if you look at all of those things, I think it's one of those things that we continue to talk about. Our personnel, even internally, are given the opportunity to go some of the best national training, and we're going to continue to do that.
Good.
As we want to be the premier retirement system in the nation, which not only means that we want to provide those benefits, we want to do it safely and with the greatest degree of security that we can possibly do.
Absolutely. And I'd like to echo your sentiments about our IT guys. They do an outstanding job. I work closely with some of them. I can see what they do on a day-to-day basis, and it's a big job, lots of challenges, but they do an outstanding job keeping everything secure for us. So hats off to those guys up there. Okay, Dr. Evans, according to Pensions and Investments, TRS has had a stellar year in comparison to other state systems' return on investments for fiscal year 2024. Can you speak to some of the measures that TRS takes to ensure its sustainability and commitment to Georgia's educators?
A decision was made many years ago for the assets of TRS to be managed by a team of in-house investment managers. We've been doing that for many years. 80% of the assets of our fund are managed in-house.
Okay.
20% are managed by external advisors, and this combination has led to two outstanding results. Typically, our returns are among the best in the industry, particularly when we adjust for risk. Secondly, the cost of managing these funds is among the lowest in the nation. Now, you mentioned our stellar year in fiscal year 2024. Let me expound upon that just a little.
Okay.
According to Pension and Investments, a well-known publication in the industry that tracks the returns on retirement systems nationwide, the returns for TRS of Georgia ranked number one nationally.
Wow.
At 14.5% for fiscal year 2024. We were excited about this. And as we are admittedly somewhat competitive, but even more so, we want to have strong investment returns that make our system better funded and hopefully at some point less reliant on employer contributions. So it was a good year, and we think largely, again, the asset mix for us basically just worked. It was a great year for the S&P 500,
yes, sir.
which basically is the index for most of the 500 largest corporations in America. And so a great year for them. Bonds actually performed a little better than they have in recent years. Putting those two things together, as well as the fact that we did not have a lot of money in alternative investments that had actually underperformed. It was a good year for us, and so we're very thankful for that.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Well, how has TRS adapted to the changing needs of its members in the past years?
One of my favorite sayings, Everett, is he who remains flexible will never be bent out of shape.
Yes.
So we've continued to be flexible,
Wow.
and to change is necessary.
Yes, sir.
And I think that has made us a stronger organization. I would say that we have implemented, I think, a more holistic approach. We begin very early in the process helping to provide new member orientation so that people know when they go to work, this is my retirement plan. And if I work, whether it's 10 years till I get vested and then retire down the road, or 25 years or 30 years or however many years along the road, I can do so and I can count on that retirement.
Yes, sir.
But it's not only providing education for our new members. It's also very important that we remind our educators in what we talk about with our mid-career workshops. You know, it's very easy for somebody to somewhere down the road get burned out along the way. But helping them to remember, if there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that light at the end of the tunnel is going to be your retirement benefit.
Yes, sir.
One of the reasons why I think this is important is that according to the school improvement data that I've looked at over the years, a teacher's most effective years of teaching is generally somewhere between the years of 20 and 24 years. So if we can keep teachers to that point, it's a win for the teacher,
Sure.
but it's a win for students because they get the best teachers that they can possibly get along the way. So I think that's one of the things to be aware of. But then also, not only that the new member and then mid-career, but pre-retirement, helping people within the last 2 to 5 years begin to say, okay, plan for my retirement.
Yes, sir.
Begin to make sure that I've done those things like knowing where to get my sick leave forms in, knowing what my benefit is going to look like, ensuring that I've got the right beneficiary listed there, and doing all of those types of things. So it's been all about education. You know, one of the things I'm so excited about, and we're actually doing today, digital media and communications. You know, we now have a wealth of information. All of our podcasts are available for people to go back and listen to. We have an abundance of great video content on YouTube. So that members, if they want to know about estate planning, if they want to know what the benefit looks like, they can go back and you know, some of us are visual people. There's probably not a week that goes by that I don't go to a YouTube video to figure out something that I need to know about. So either fix something or just educate myself about something. So it's there. Now we're able to do live online training options while our staff goes all over the state to present. You know, we've had episodes of where we've had as many as 1,000 people online participating in a video conference that we were doing. And again, they didn't have to leave their home. Matter of fact, they did not even have to show up during the hour. They could go back and watch it at a later time. So that just gives us, you know, the amount of digital content in our society has just ballooned in recent years. And that's a part of what we're doing. Regular posts on social media help remind people of the importance of those things as it relates to planning for retirement as well. And then also one of the things that we've done that has really become popular, and I don't know the exact ratio, but it's somewhere around 50-50, and that is web-based retirement counseling. As you know, for many years ago, back before COVID, if someone wanted to have a retirement counseling, they had to get in their vehicle, they had to drive to Atlanta or either go to one of our regional workshops that we were doing, and that was the only option they had.
That's correct.
Then immediately pre-COVID, we began testing online counseling, and it became very necessary during COVID. So we do a lot of that, and that has made a significant difference. I would be remiss if I did not talk about one of the things that we've done that I think that has also been phenomenal, and that is our Macon location.
Yes, sir.
Where instead of having to drive all the way to Atlanta if you want to meet somebody, so many of our people are finding just going to Macon is just an hour or so drive for them rather than 4, 5, 6 hours it would take to come all the way to Atlanta. And we have people coming in for counseling both in the Macon office and Atlanta office literally every day of the week.
Yes, sir.
Continuing to make TRS accessible to people in every way possible so they can adequately plan for a happier, healthier, and wealthier retirement.
And that's the goal. That is certainly the goal. Excellently said. Dr. Evans, I hear that there are some counties that have faced shortages in recruiting new teachers. Does this have any effect on the retirement system?
Yes, sir. We hear that some, more than others, of our school systems have teacher shortages. It seems to be a growing problem. Georgia has about a 10% turnover rate, which is not as bad as some states. But we do find, particularly in critical needs areas, such things as special education, mathematics, and science, those teachers can be hard to come by. In some rural locations, we find that even some common areas, such as early childhood, or middle grades education, teachers are not easy to come by. It certainly can have an impact on the retirement system, but I think in our case, that impact for our system has been relatively small. You know, first, we continue to grow as a system. Georgia is a state that has continued to grow. We add new teachers into the membership pool every year. Same is true when it comes to retirees, it seems, every year. We add about the same number or slightly an increased number of retirees each year. But I do think the teacher shortage reiterates the reason why we have a defined benefit program for teachers and why it's important.
Okay.
For many years, it has been recognized that a plan such as ours is important for recruiting and retaining teachers in the profession. When I look at, for example, the teacher turnover rate of being about 10%, and then I would project the state of Georgia turnover rate to be probably 35 to 40% in some areas. You know, our plan, our retirement system plan does seem to be making a difference in keeping people in the profession.
I see.
That's great for students. That's great for our state. And that's great for our people who make the decision that they want to spend their career serving as a teacher in our wonderful state.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Speaking of that, how has the return to work option benefited systems that face teacher shortages?
Well, as I indicated, Georgia continues to have a teacher shortage. And the neat thing is that retired educators can be a wonderful resource in our state in a number of ways. You know, our retired, many of our people may retire at the average retirement age, Everett, is now right at 60.
Okay.
That's actually a little bit higher. That is another trend. We talked about trends a while ago, but we've seen the retirement age going up a little bit, whether that's due to inflation, whether that's due to whatever reasons, or maybe the pay raises that have had. That's kept people in. But retired educators do so many wonderful things. About 10% of them choose to come back and work part-time or full-time under the House Bill 385 provision if they can after the retirement. Georgia does have one of the more generous return-to-work policies in the nation, allowing our retirees, after staying out for 30 days or more, to work 49% and continuing to do that and draw their retirement benefit. And I think that's a great plan. It's a great opportunity for them. And, you know, about 10% of our retirees do that. Now, our House Bill 385 provision is a provision that allows for teachers in those critical needs areas to return full-time after staying out for 1 year in one of those critical needs areas and continue to draw their retirement benefit and be able to work full-time drawing that full salary. So that has been a real win because it's allowed some of our most needy students and some critical needs areas to get teachers who say, you know what, I've still got some tread left on these tires. I want to be in the classroom, and they'll do that for a few years, and kids benefit, and I think that's just a wonderful, wonderful win. Putting retired teachers in classrooms where there is a shortage is a good educational policy that benefits students and it benefits schools, and I'm glad that we do that to the extent that we do here in Georgia.
That's excellent. And anything that we can do to benefit the students of this state is, in my opinion, one of the things we definitely want to tip our hat for. Well, how has TRS continued to provide access to communications and on-demand content for its members, as we were just talking about?
Everett, listen to these statistics. Some of these will blow your mind, okay?
Okay.
All right. For 2024, we published 19 videos. We did 12 live streams and 35,000 views on YouTube alone as of the end of October. Now, we're not into the hundreds of thousands, and we've not eclipsed 1 million. But you know what? We're making this content available, and I think that is cool. We had 3 new podcast episodes, excluding this one, which will make the 4th one. 5.1 thousand podcast listens in 2024. So that means over 5,000 people had the opportunity to hear the best podcast voice in the state of Georgia.
Wow. Well,
and we're thankful for you doing this.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you.
TRS Talks is an open enrollment which focused on state health benefit plan, Social Security, and investing for educators. So we are using differing forms of communication because we believe communication is important.
Sure is.
And we want to continue to be accessible to our membership wherever they are, in person or online, or as they go up and down the road listening to the podcast and being entertained by none other than Everett Crockett.
Wow. Nothing more I can add to that. Thank you, Dr. Evans. Well, demand for counseling sessions continues to be very high. How has the Macon Satellite Office helped to meet this demand?
I mentioned that earlier, but since you gave me another opportunity,
Yes.
I'm going to jump right in and tell you the satellite office in Macon has been a win-win-win. This emerged as a need that was identified during one of our strategic planning processes well over 6 years ago. We are a big state, and we provide retirement counseling every year to somewhere around 4,000 people.
Okay.
Our members win, first of all, because they can get face-to-face counseling without coming all the way to Atlanta. And I don't know about your commute in this morning, but I know how mine was. And I know what it will be like this afternoon. And so that is truly a win when people don't have to come all the way to Atlanta.
Absolutely.
It is also a win for our employers because their employees can miss less time away from the classroom. And so they don't have to get a substitute, or maybe not have to get a substitute for as long of a period of time,
Yes.
saving them time, but also saving valuable instructional time. And TRS wins because we can reach more people easily, as well as tap into an applicant pool of employees in the Macon and general area there that we're now beginning to hire people from,
Okay.
as opposed to being limited to just right here around the metropolitan, very competitive metropolitan Atlanta employment market. So we think it's been a win-win-win, and I'm excited about that. And even for me personally, I'll have an opportunity to work out of there one day this week, being with our members and our team there in the Macon office, which change of scenery is good now and then.
Yeah, it is. I've actually had 2 opportunities to visit that office, a very nice office, might I add, and I know it's a good benefit for those who are more local to that particular location versus having to deal with driving all the way up here to Atlanta and all that bad traffic, as you indicated. Well, Dr. Evans, how many members retired this past year, and how does that compare to previous years?
This year we had 6,477 retirees compared to the previous year of 6,230.
Okay.
That's an increase of about 157. We had actually seen 3 consecutive years of decreasing retirements. So this is somewhat I'll just refer to as a little bit of a reversion to the mean. It's clearly not a spike. As I shared with you a few minutes ago, teachers seem to be working longer. Our state has been very generous with salary increases, which meant that if our teachers would work 2 or 3 more years, those increased salaries would be calculated into their retirement benefit, which is important. That kept them in the classroom.
Yes.
Secondly, we've been through a period of significant inflation. Seems to be cooling a little bit now. But so some people said, you know what, I think I'll work a little bit longer because of that uncertainty. And the good thing is I think that was a win for our retirement system. It was a win for our teachers and win for our employers as well.
Yes, sir.
So no real spike in retirements, but just a slight increase for last year. And as we are looking now mid-year at our retirements, we're not seeing a significant number of increases. It just seems to be pretty steady.
Yes, holding steady. That's good. Well, speaking of retired members, one of your and my favorite retiree population segments are those who are considered centenarians. This year, Dr. Evans, how many retirees do we have over the age of 100?
As of July 1, 91 of our beneficiaries are over the age of 100. 16 of them are men. Now, I want to say 2 things about this.
Yes, sir.
First of all, this is way up from when I first started sharing this number. When I first started this number, we only had 1 man.
That's right.
Now we're up to 16. So I'm going to take a little bit of credit that people have heard this stat and they wanted to be that man. That's my statement.
Yes.
I wanted to be that man.
Absolutely.
Now the 16 times that is really, really good. So those are the things. Those numbers are up, and I want to be that person, and I think it's a great goal. And in all seriousness, it may truly be a reflection that people are living longer. And maybe that speaks very well for the health care that we have in our nation. We'll take this as positive information.
Yes, we will. And of course, as we always say each year, you and I hope to be in that number. We're going to increase that count one day ourselves. So that's what I believe. Dr. Evans, what resources does TRS provide for retirees?
Again, one of the things that I really enjoy is the privilege of spending time with our retirees all across the state.
Yes, sir.
So I think one of the things that we've done first and foremost is we've made ourselves available. Our retired educators, whether it's through the GAE retired or GREA or either retirees that are not a part of those groups, spending time with them is important.
Yes.
I've always heard you can tell what's important to a person by where they spend their time and where they spend their money.
It's true.
So we consciously want to choose to spend time with our retirees. Now, we do some specific things in doing that, providing pre-retirement counseling. But not only that pre-retirement counseling, we are providing some post-retirement sessions, which include information about Social Security, information about estate planning, things that become increasingly important to us the older that we get.
Yes.
And being how I am one of those old guys,
Yes, sir.
it is important.
Okay.
Also, we've talked about our digital content, but we have a web-based portal where our members, whether they're active or retired, can go into their account and conduct a number of important business functions. And then all of our online content. Again, making ourselves available, making ourselves accessible, and making quality content out there for people, because I don't know whether you know this, but money is important in life.
Yes, it is.
It may not be the most important things, but when we talk about what's important to our retirees, first and foremost, we know the money's got to work. There's got to be enough money for them to be able to live, to provide for health care, and to do those things that they enjoy in retirement.
Sure. I totally agree with that. Well, unfortunately, for various reasons, people don't get around to updating their beneficiary information for their TRS accounts. We've seen where people think they have updated their information, but when we check their accounts, it turns out that they hadn't. Can you emphasize the importance of having accurate beneficiary information in your TRS account?
Yes, one of the most important things that either an active or retired member needs to do is to make sure that their beneficiaries listed on their account are the people that they intend to be.
Yes, sir.
We have seen a number of situations over the years where that was not the case. We've seen situations where maybe an ex-spouse was listed as the beneficiary.
Yes, sir.
That usually does not end good.
No.
We have seen situations where the beneficiary listed as someone who had already passed away.
My.
Life changes over time.
Yes, it does.
So we do think it's very, very important, and we look forward to working with our members to ensure that we help them identify who is the right person that they want to have listed as their beneficiary.
Well, this might be a first right here. A shout out. I don't think we've ever given a shout out on the podcast before. So, having said that, we'd like to give a special shout out to Renee Lip at Harris County Schools for going above and beyond to help her staff who did not have beneficiaries on file to take action and make those updates. So, what steps is TRS taking with the cooperation of employers to help members designate their beneficiaries?
You know, Everett, I'm so excited. Renee has actually been a pioneer, and she's actually proven a model that others are now helping follow.
Wow.
As we have worked out a way to help our employers identify who those people are who may not have any beneficiaries listed, which is a problem. So we have made this a priority because in the end, this will be easier for our members, this will be easier for their families, and it will be easier for us as well. But importantly, it will better make sure that our members' desires are carried out in regards to their retirement benefit. You know, you hear some interesting stories in life about people whose wills were surprise people in the end.
Yes.
It doesn't have to happen when it comes to your beneficiary. And working with our employers to do this, we've done several things. We've continuously spoken to its importance when we provide communications. We've created digital content, educating others about the importance. And then we've worked with our employers, as I indicated, to make sure that they could tell our people, hey, you don't have anybody listed as a beneficiary. It's a very good idea that you do that.
Yes.
So it's something that we're seeing. Just the other day, Oconee County School sent me a copy of a flyer that they're sending out to all their people to make this a priority. And we're seeing this number of people who once was less than 50% of our people who had someone designated as a beneficiary increase. So We know this is working. We know that it's the right thing to do, and we're going to continue to do it.
Yes, very important. Very, very important to have that beneficiary information squared away. Well, Dr. Evans, TRS does a lot to support its members with financial literacy, investing, and other aspects of retirement planning. What has TRS done internally to help its employees prepare for their retirements?
I am so glad you asked me this question. Working with our active members and retirees has helped us to know that even our own team members can plan for retirement better by doing some things that we think are important.
Yes, sir.
Research on retirement happiness reveals that, as I shared this earlier, money's got to work.
Yes, it does.
And if a person's money doesn't work, it may delay retirement. It may have them working in later years when their health is not as good, or maybe when they really need to be doing some other types of things. So we know that that isn't true for our members, it's true for our membership. We also know that this is true for our people here at TRS. We have done something here recently that I'm so excited about.
Yes, sir.
Several discussions led us to do something that we are now calling Wealth Builders.
Yes, sir.
It is designed to help our personnel make better decisions about their own money. And as we begin to talk about this, we found out that there were probably 3 different levels. I'll categorize them into 3. We
Yes,
had
sir,
people
please do.
who needed help with budgeting. They didn't have, they get a paycheck. Maybe they've never put together a budget. They don't know where their money is going. They don't know how much is going in. And oftentimes these people found themselves in significant credit card debt, which is a real problem.
Yeah, sure is.
So then we found some people who maybe intermediate level, and maybe they'd gotten the budget part. They had started saving, but they hadn't really reached the level of really planning for a secure future. And then we have people who work on our staff who've maybe been accomplished investors for years, and they've been putting money in their 401k or their 457 or maybe even an online brokerage account. So we said, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to do this because it's the right thing to do. We think it's one of those things that has a benefit for everybody involved. I don't know if you know this statistic or not, but most people who become millionaires become a millionaire in their 401k account.
Wow. Did not know that.
The average age is right under 50 years of age. So it is possible that employees here
Yes.
at Teachers Retirement System, if they begin to plan early, invest along the way, can be and retire as a millionaire. We want that to happen.
Yes, we
because
do.
you know what? That makes the money work. But it's not just about that. It's about helping them make good decisions to budget better, save more, invest more, and one day being able to retire comfortably. Using a number of resources, including a book that we're giving to everyone participating by Morgan Housel called The Psychology of Money.
Yes, sir.
We're going to meet people where they are, and we believe the benefit for us is it will have happier, wealthier employees who enjoy working here at Teachers Retirement System.
Well, certainly, I as a member of the newly formed Wealth Builders Investment Group, I want to take my hat off to the leadership here at TRS for seeing the need for doing something like this, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you all very much. Now, what investments has TRS made in developing its staff's skill sets?
TRS of Georgia has about the lowest turnover rate of all state agencies. We think that that is important. We are very conscious about organizational culture, and to a large extent, what we have done has clearly worked. Part of that is training. Part of that is trying to be aware. Are we perfect? Absolutely not.
Sure.
Do we find ways that we can improve? Another one of my favorite saying is, the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement. But we start a foundational belief by saying we can do better every day. And so we want to continuously do that. The focus of our employee training and development continues to be really focused on 2 things, Everett. Customer service and leadership development.
Okay.
Within that concept of leadership development, there are a lot of things that we can talk about within that. But again, we're all leaders, whether it's in our family, whether it's in our workplace, or everywhere we go. We have the ability to influence the world and our world in a positive way.
Yes, sir.
When we learn more about ourselves, learn more how to be more effective as leaders, we become better people for our communities, better people for our world,
Yes.
and better folks here at TRS.
Need more of that. Certainly need more of that. Well, I know this is one of your favorite topics to talk about this time of year, which is the State Charitable Contribution Campaign. How did we do last year with the campaign, and is there any exciting news that you can share about this year's campaign?
You know what? This is one of my favorite things to talk about. I'm so proud of our team for the work that we do year in, year out with this. For the 6th consecutive year, we have received the Governor's Award for the highest giving level among all state agencies.
Wow.
And we are a very small state agency with
Exactly.
only about 200 employees. But this is so important to us because I believe this reflects who we are as people. It reflects the culture that we continue to build and sustain at Teachers Retirement System. Because we've been doing this, not only have we been able to give back to other people and to give back to other organizations, we've had a fun time doing it.
Yes,
we've
we have.
learned more about each other. We've learned more about other people's cultures. We've just found ways to have fun in this process. And I don't think we ever really envisioned when we first began this path that we would be where we're at. Now it's gotten to be somewhat of an expectation.
It sure has.
And so we are right in the midst of that campaign right now. We're having a lot of fun, and we look forward to once again meeting our goal, which this year, Everett, is $40,000, which is pretty good for an agency
Yes, sir.
of about 200 people.
Yes, yes. Well, to quote one of our very popular employees around here, we want the cup. We want the cup.
That's right.
So I'm certain we'll get there. So, Dr. Evans, what are the top priorities for the system in the upcoming year?
I stated for many years in my career that I wanted the organization that I was leading to be known for operating in accordance to 3 principles.
Okay.
First of all, I wanted to make sure that we're providing world-class service.
Yes, sir.
Secondly, I want us to be doing it efficiently, saving the taxpayer's dollar and getting the work done.
Yes, sir.
Thirdly, I want people to enjoy the work. I believe we do that here at the Teachers Retirement System. We, as I indicated, we have probably the lowest employee turnover rate of all state agencies in Georgia. We are known for providing outstanding customer service. And I enjoy working here, and I think most of our team members do as well.
I agree.
And, so those are some things that are foundational. Now, we also have to go back to our vision statement, which is to be the premier retirement system providing exceptional and comprehensive service to Georgia's educators.
Yes, sir.
I've already indicated that and confessed that I'm a little bit competitive. I don't know that I ever won a state championship. Some of my favorite teams have won some national championships. But I am competitive, and we like to win. And we want to be recognized as being part of the solution and not being a part of the problem. And being a premier retirement system, being a part of important educational policy in Georgia is a win,
Yes.
not only for us, but our state as well.
Yes, sir. Certainly is. It certainly is.
If we truly want to be, or maybe continue to be the premier retirement system, we will continue to provide outstanding service to our members. We will continue to innovate. We will continue to educate, and we will continue to communicate through every effective means of communication that we can, including this outstanding podcast.
Thank you, sir. And I concur totally. I totally concur with that. Dr. Evans, are there any pieces of advice you'd like to leave for our members as they plan their retirement?
It is said the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The second best time is today. I believe the same is true with retirement planning. I think retirement planning actually should begin immediately upon employment.
Yes, sir.
So I think all of us, wherever we're at on the spectrum, need to be planning for that day of retirement. Also, in relationship to that, we alluded to earlier, be sure that your beneficiaries listed are who you want. That's so important to making sure that what happens with your resources in retirement and then after retirement are made at a point in time when you know what you think you want in looking forward.
Yes, sir. Well, are there any last words before we come to an end of this particular podcast?
I do want to say a word of sincere gratitude to both our active and retired educators for their choice to influence the lives of others by choosing to work in the educational profession. I continue to be reminded of how much of a difference educators and everyone in the education profession and how important. When I ride down the road, whether it's if I see a school bus or I go by a school and I see people working with children, I think about the differences that in my 60-something years of life that education has made for me. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Yes.
Feel esteemed, feel honored, and know that you're making a difference.
Absolutely.
We continue to support and encourage our active educators and for our retirees, because I want them to continue to be the happiest people that I know. And we're thankful for the relationship we have with them.
Absolutely, Dr. Evans. Well, Dr. Evans, thank you so much for stopping by the podcast studio today. On behalf of our podcast team and all of the employees of TRS, we appreciate you and the work that you do on behalf of Georgia's educators and for the benefit of TRS. And members and friends, we certainly thank you as well for tuning in today. Our podcast is your podcast. You are the focus of the content that we provide. You have listened to us throughout the year, and we want you to know we appreciate your listenership. We invite you to share our podcast with your family and your friends. And if you have any questions or comments or feedback that you'd like to share with us, you can reach us at podcast@trsga.com. That's podcast@trsga.com. May the joy of the upcoming holidays be with you and your families. Join us next year for TRS, Your Retirement in Focus.